Every country has its laws, right? They're there to maintain order, keep things running smoothly, but sometimes, when you really start digging into the legal codes, you find rules that are just so strange, so specific, they feel less like serious regulations and more like a practical joke. So let's dive in and see just how weird things can get.
And yeah, that quote, it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the spirit of what we're about to do. We are going on a worldwide tour of legal oddities, looking at rules so strange you'll start to question everything you thought you knew about law.
First up, let's talk about the overprotective state. These are the laws that were created to save people, sometimes from other people, but a lot of the time from their own really bad judgment.
Okay, so if you're a new parent in New Zealand, you might want to rethink that baby name list. The country's registrar can actually reject names they think are too offensive, and yep, Lucifer is officially on the blacklist. In a way, the government's just doing a public service here, acting as the final line of defense between a brand new baby and a whole lifetime of getting teased on the playground.
Now, this isn't some weird war on home decor. It's actually a pretty clever safety rule. The government figured out that, hey, a fresh coat of paint is the absolute perfect way to hide some really dangerous cracks or rot in the wood. They'd much rather you use an ugly ladder that actually works than a beautifully painted one that turns into an express elevator to the emergency room.
All right, let's head over to Paraguay for a law that is a true masterpiece of dark comedy. You can, believe it or not, legally challenge someone to a duel. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. Both of you have to be registered blood donors. The logic here seems to be, hey, if you're going to go around potentially spilling some blood, you should at least have the common courtesy to have already donated to the national supply. It's this bizarre mix of personal revenge and civic duty.
And then, in Bolivia, we find this shocking time capsule of institutional sexism. There's a law that makes it illegal for a married woman to have more than one glass of wine in public. And the supposed reason? A fear that it could make her morally lax. Her husband, of course, can drink as much as he wants. It's an absolutely astounding piece of legislation that is somehow still on the books today.
Next up, let's talk about when animals make the rules. These are laws where the fauna, whether they're four-legged or feathered, get the final say.
So picture this. You're driving down a road in South Africa, and you end up in a standoff between your car and a herd of goats. Well, the goats win. Legally. This isn't just a friendly suggestion. It's the law. And it's a brilliant example of a different kind of authority. For just a few minutes, all the traffic laws made by man are completely suspended, and you are living under the slow, deliberate, and legally untouchable rule of a flock of sheep.
Okay, get ready for some truly bizarre moral math. A law in Kentucky makes it illegal to dye a baby chick an unnatural color, but only if you're selling them in groups of less than 6. So this creates this weird ethical loophole. The law sends a very clear message. Cruelty is a crime if it's your small-time hobby, but it's a totally acceptable business model if you do it on an industrial scale.
You know the old joke, right? Why did the chicken cross the road? Well, in Quitman, Georgia, it didn't. Because if it did, its owner would be facing a fine. This city ordinance gives us the most bureaucratic, soul-crushingly unfunny answer to one of history's greatest jokes. The chicken's philosophical journey was, I guess, canceled because of a municipal code violation.
Our third section is all about the ghosts of laws past. These are the old, archaic rules that, for whatever reason, just refuse to die.
Let's hop in the time machine. Back in 1839 London, beating a carpet after 8 a.m. was against the law, probably to stop the whole city from choking on a giant synchronized cloud of dust. Then, in the 1850s, Nevada banned riding camels on highways after a failed U.S. Army experiment left a bunch of them just wandering the desert. And you gotta love this one. In 1872 Scotland, it became illegal to be drunk while in charge of a cow or a steam engine. It just perfectly captures a world of pure Victorian chaos.
This law answers a question I'm pretty sure you've never asked. What is the legal difference between a pickle and just a sad, wet cucumber? Well, in Connecticut, the answer is bounce. It literally has to bounce when dropped from 1 foot high. And this implies the very real historical existence of an official pickle bouncer whose job was to solemnly judge vegetables for their structural integrity. What a job.
But don't think for a second that weird laws are just a thing of the past. Let's look at some modern bizarre rules, because technology and culture are creating a whole new world of absurdities.
Think about it. In the 21st century, a single tap on a piece of glass in your hand can literally bankrupt you. And this is especially true in the UAE, where digital communication comes with some incredibly high stakes.
Yeah, you heard that right. Under their strict cybercrime laws, sending a middle finger emoji can be classified as an obscene gesture. The potential fine is up to 250,000 dirhams, which is about 65,000 US dollars. It might just be the single most expensive nonverbal communication in all of human history.
So, in most places, hopping on your neighbor's unsecured Wi-Fi is, a minor social mistake. It's a bit rude. But in Singapore, the government takes a much, much stricter approach to digital boundaries.
Singapore's laws don't see unauthorized Wi-Fi access as borrowing. Oh no, they see it as hacking, and the penalties are severe. We're talking up to a $10,000 fine or 3 years in prison. It turns the casual act of checking your email into a high-stakes cybercrime. In Singapore, it really seems like even the airwaves have heavily armed border patrols.
So we've been on this worldwide tour of legal madness, and we've seen rules that are funny, strange, totally outdated, but among all that absurdity, sometimes a law crosses a line from just being bizarre to being genuinely concerning. And that brings us to the question of the one sinister law.
And believe me, the list just keeps going. In Trinidad, wearing camo is a criminal act reserved for the military. In Indonesia, complaining about a loud mosque can actually land you in prison. In France, you can't name a pig Napoleon. In Eswatini, witches are subject to aviation regulations. And in North Korea, blue jeans are a forbidden symbol of Western corruption. The range is just unbelievable.
I mean, that really sums it all up, doesn't it? From the completely silly to the deeply serious, our ability to regulate every single part of life, well, it seems to know no bounds. But that also raises one final, really important question.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question. Most of these laws we've talked about are historical quirks, they're cultural oddities, they're kind of funny. But which one we discussed today actually crosses the line? Which one feels genuinely sinister and just has no place in the modern world? I have my own opinion, but I really want to hear yours. Let us know what you think.